Great Scott. Great Scott. Great Scott.
Hello everyone, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of Great Scott. I'm Scotty V. Thanks for watching. So it's come to fruition, what I had said and what any DCEU fan should have known from the start. If Justice League went well, it was going to be Hail Whedon! And if Justice League didn't go well, it was going to be that damn Zack Snyder, what a scum, he ruined our universe. It makes no sense. Some of the criticisms that are coming out, the reason Justice League failed is because people were turned off by Zack Snyder's previous efforts when each previous effort did better than the last. Man of Steel did pretty well, doubled its budget. WB considered it a failure anyway. They forced Zack Snyder to bring in the Bat because they thought that that would do it. Batman v Superman made another 100 million plus more than what Man of Steel made. WB considered that a failure anyway. It more than doubled its budget. Still, WB was displeased. Both films were made fun of. Both films were maligned. Marvel was brought up, how much they do so much better than DC does, how DC should look to the other company to find out how to make their movies. They did so now with Justice League after cutting and slashing a bunch of Zack Snyder stuff, changing the script around, bringing in Whedon, whom we were told was brought in by Zack himself when he needed some help finishing the reshoots. To my eye, we got a lot more than reshoots. We got fully realized, newly scripted scenes with new effects that a new effects company was brought in and unable to finish. We got effects guys speaking under the course of anonymity, not saying who they are, but saying they were the original team and that they were saying WTF when they saw this finished product of things like the removal of the mustache, the cell phone footage, and they couldn't believe that the movie studio wouldn't have given them the time they needed to do it correctly, and instead brought in a new team who did it in a few months and did a horrible job, and it looks embarrassing. We're hearing from multiple sources that these types of things happen, multiple sources that there were many scenes cut, and different sources saying what scenes were Whedon's, what scenes were Zack's. The point is, the two forms of directing, the two styles, did not mesh together. The movie was not well received. Neither were Man of Steel or Batman v Superman overall well received, but they did do much better. They did each get a respective sequel, Man of Steel getting Batman v Superman, and Batman v Superman getting Justice League. And we were meant to see a culmination of the story of the birth of a hero, that is Superman, then dying, then being reborn, and becoming the Superman we were all kind of waiting for him to become. I like seeing all of that come to fruition. So, as I said before, I was extremely disappointed that we didn't see it happen in Justice League. Instead, it just kind of was there. Oh, suddenly he's making pithy remarks about truth and justice, which is great. And I had a smile on my face at some of those parts. I liked having him say, "Do you bleed?" to Batman. It was very cool. But a lot of it was nonsensical. What's the reason Superman remembers that, but doesn't remember that he then fought alongside Batman, or that Batman then went and saved his mother? Why remember the negative thing? What I said was that the apocalyptic technology was dark and Wonder Woman had had experience with it before, and that she knew that it could go that way, and we were just meant to buy that, and that's what ended up happening. But there was a lot going on that was just messy, and this is why it failed. It didn't fail because of Zack Snyder. If anyone, it failed because Whedon got involved. Not necessarily because Whedon couldn't have done Justice League if he had started with Justice League, but because they brought him in and tried to repair or fix or remake things that weren't there before and didn't fit right. The VFX guys said that the CGI Batman was embarrassing at the beginning on the rooftops. Things like that that don't mesh also with the way they looked or moved in the other two movies. They were, and I'm not a fan of the Nolan Batman films, I've said that before, but they were more like those in the sense that physics worked on humans the way it would work. Physics, Batman was Batman, but could do things that a man as Batman could do. And we know that in the comics, Batman does things far and above what a man could do, dropping 30 feet, 40, 50 feet from, without a rope, from his plane down to the top of a building and not shattering both his knees. Robin does the same thing. because it's fantastical. It's a comic book. So if you're going to do that, and that's what it was going to be, but it's never been that. Batman has never been that on film. This was really the first time we've seen it, but it's supposed to be the same Batman we saw before, who didn't really do those things. They were very ultra realistic in the way human beings move, the way people move, the way bodies work, the way impacts work. And then with Justice League, he could just do everything, and he moved very, very differently than he did before. So it was just, there were a lot of things, and maybe the casual moviegoer doesn't notice those things because he's not remembering the first two films. But something about it didn't work, and it wasn't, boy, I don't like Zack Snyder, or I don't like Joss Whedon. It was, I believe it was the combination of the two, and an unfinished product. And now, of course, we have word that WB has no plans for ever using Zack Snyder again. As I said, he would be the one to get mud slung upon him, whereas Whedon comes out smelling like a rose. And I guess they'll move forward with him doing some things in the future. They've also released the slate of upcoming DC movies, which I expect will change as we move forward, and they decide they don't want to possibly lose money on some of the riskier projects when they couldn't make money on the Trinity, and they couldn't make money on Batman and Superman, and they couldn't make money on Superman. There is no Man of Steel 2. They may have decided that Superman clearly doesn't sell the tickets because we brought him back in all his glory in Justice League, and we didn't even make as much money as we made with the other two. So it's hard to tell what's going to happen, but with no Man of Steel on the slate and Suicide Squad 2 still being on the slate, I'm kind of disgusted. I don't like the way this went. I don't know. I mean, I think it's the studio to blame, ultimately. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and remember, always look up in the sky, like I do. From the top of, neither were Batman,